Have you noticed prices going up? It's happening. Are you seeing it? What have you noticed prices going up on? I've noticed prices going up on a lot of things. Different things that I ordered. Shoes, basketball shoes, cars, used cars are skyrocketing. I've noticed the price of certain food products going up. I noticed the price of rent going up. I noticed the price of gas going up. In this video, we're going to talk about inflation, answers to inflation generally, and then we're going to have a nice discussion about Bitcoin as well and why. I'm personally what we call a Bitcoin maximalist. It's a political stance, Bitcoin only, none of these altcoins. It's not too late. You're still early. We're on time. And welcome in. If that sounds interesting to you, then hit the thumbs up button. Something unique about my channel, it's always outside. It's always going to be somewhere beautiful. There's always going to be animals. You're always going to hear bird song or waves and or wind. So yeah, come take a walk with me or pull up a chair and let's talk strategy. Let's talk life strategy. Let me help you with your life. So if that sounds good, welcome in. Much love, fam. Trav here. Wonderful people. Welcome in. Smash the thumbs up button. Okay, so let's talk about inflation first. And I did a couple videos similar to this recently, but what's different about this video is we're going to get into more specifics of why it's just Bitcoin only. If you want sort of the basics of Bitcoin, then you should check out, just take a scroll. There's some other videos. But yeah, beautiful day to talk about how supposedly inflation is up 5% in the past year. That's the official government number. That doesn't include a lot of things. But even if it's 5%, 5% is a lot. Year over year, 5% doubles. And what is it, like between 10 and 20 years, your money is cut in half. And did you get a 5% raise this year? Have you gotten a 5% raise every single year? If not, your purchasing power has been going down for sure, confirmed by the government. However, the real inflation rate is much higher than 5% because it includes healthcare, it includes college, university, it includes housing, rent, cars, and all these other things that aren't always in the official inflation numbers. It's not just consumer goods, there's a lot more to it. So an example that I like to give, in my lifetime, my mom went to Cal Berkeley. She went to UC Berkeley in the 1970s, and UC Berkeley today is like $20,000 a year in-state, $40,000 out-of-state, something like that. Her college tuition she paid for by working part-time, it was $80 in a lifetime. You think that's a 5% increase year over year? It's a lot more, right? It's going to the moon. So what's the cause of inflation? Why does inflation happen? Well, it's these governments get to the point where they're sort of boxed into a corner. They owe so much debt. They feel that they have no choice but to print money. And if they stop printing money, a lot of also bad shit's going to happen. So we see this throughout history. We saw this in the Weimar Republic in Germany in 1918. We saw this in the Nationalist Party of China, where my dad and my grandparents fled, and there's stories of them taking wheelbarrows full of money out to dinner, and the price raises, but at the end of dinner, we're talking hundreds of thousands, million% increase in inflation. We're seeing, we saw it in Zimbabwe, we're seeing it in South American countries, and are we starting to see it here? Well, maybe not at the millions percentage, but if they printed about 40% of the total money supply, and it's not just debt that's issued, but you got stimulus checks, you received stimulus checks. Where did that money came from? It's just new money they created, and they gave out a lot of new money that they created, about 40%. So that's what's causing inflation. Do we expect to see a 40% increase in prices commensurate with a 40% increase in money in the money supply? Yes, it's not going to happen all at once, but that's what's happening. So the 5% could easily be 40%, and it could be more as they print more and they print more and they print more, and they just keep printing more. And because the powerful people who are closest to the money spigot are just drinking from it, but they're not holding the dollars because they know it's going to shit. They're holding different assets, and one of those assets, for example, is Bitcoin. But before we get into Bitcoin, the principles It helps if you learn how to grow your own food. That's one of the major life expenses. That's also one of the things that we're seeing prices go up on. It's also one of the things we're going to see disrupted even more over the next years as shipping costs from China go up and up. California's Central Valley, where we grow a lot of the nation's food in the United States of America, is suffering extreme drought. A lot of farmers are having their water turned off. So get ready, get prepared. We're not going to see the effects of that till after this next harvest season. Next year, we're going to see a lot of food prices increase. It's going to happen. So it's good to have some skills and, various skills to be. I'm fixing the fence here. I want you to be a Renaissance. What is a Renaissance person? A polymath, someone who has expertise in different things, not just one thing. The world's changing too fast to be a specialist. Really, I mean, if you could be a generalist in 3-4 different things, and at the intersection of those things is where you're going to profit and where you're going to thrive. And as we see the complexity arise and changes happen, it's just you got to be adaptable, you got to be flexible, and take care of yourself. Get sunshine every day, get exercise every day. Eat good, real food, eat meat, eat vegetables, eat fruit, get outside, don't eat junk food. Learn, study, read, get 8 to 9 hours of sleep a night. Those are some of the basics that can help prepare you. Raise your income, start a business on the side, start a YouTube channel on the side. These are some basics that I would tell you to get started. But now let's get into Bitcoin. Why Bitcoin only? So we've talked about Bitcoin. We've talked about Bitcoin before. In this video, my focus is on why is it Bitcoin and not any of these other projects. And just for transparency, my portfolio is like 90% Bitcoin, 5% Ethereum, 5% cash. So I do have some Ethereum. I do like having cash for emergencies and credit for emergencies. Could always just sell crypto, but don't want to do it. I am just about in long-term capital gain, so could I've held for a year. I could sell things and not pay federal taxes, which is great. So I do hold Ethereum, but I don't like it. That's a slight diversification and humility in saying maybe I'm wrong on this, but we're going to talk about why Bitcoin maximalism is maybe an important political stance to take. So I think we start with the first principles, high level. Why do we even need Bitcoin? What is it even doing? Why is it important? Why do people like it? And the answer is it's a solution to what we talked about in the first half of this video, is that inflation robs people of their wealth, it keeps people poor, wages rise slower than prices, it stresses the fuck out of everyone, and it's just stealing. So the debasement and it's just stealing of the government from people and allowing them to fund endless wars, get too powerful, etc. So the main thing Bitcoin is solving for is it's solving for the debasement of the currency. You can't just print 40% more Bitcoin. We know the supply issuance of Bitcoin, and we can be pretty confident that's not going to deviate, that's not going to change, at least for the next 100 years. We're not going to talk about why we can be so confident on that, but as time continues, we can become more and more confident. So Bitcoin solves for supply debasement of government currencies. Now, if every altcoin has value and everyone can make an altcoin, and now there's tens of thousands of cryptocurrencies, if every cryptocurrency has value and anyone can make a cryptocurrency, then we're in the same problem. We're in the same situation where just the cryptocurrency space is being debased. Does that make sense? It's like the government prints money or random people just print money. So I think it's important politically to say that treat these alt currencies as zero. Like your new currency has a value of zero. I'm not going to invest in them. I'm only going to invest in Bitcoin. Maybe a little bit of Ethereum. It's not that no other project has value, but politically, let's let's not allow debasement. And that's why you look at the first sovereign nation to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender is El Salvador, and they adopted Bitcoin only. Yes, you can legally hold or trade cryptocurrencies, but it would make no sense for them to say every currency is legal tender, because if every currency is legal tender, and people keep creating new currencies, then people's wealth is getting debased, just like before, right? Someone can just make a new currency, and everybody's slice of the pie gets a little bit smaller. So they said no, Bitcoin only. And I'm saying no, Bitcoin only. Maybe a little bit of Ethereum, um, out of humility. But for those of you who think, well, I want to do an altcoin because they're cheap and they can go up, they're not cheap when they're going to zero, and Bitcoin is cheap when you consider that only about 2% of the population has adopted it. It's expanding extremely fast. It's on this internet-like trajectory, this S-curve adoption that's happening. It seems pretty inevitable at this point. It's very likely. If 2% of the population has adopted it, then it can easily 50x from here, and it could 50x within the next 10 years. That's pretty good. That's what you're looking from your altcoins, but all these altcoins are most likely to go to zero. So you're not too late. It's not too expensive. You can buy with $10, $20, and nation states are adopting it. Large corporations are adopting it, and it's a way to hold wealth without it being debased. And I think an important part of it is also rejecting these other projects that are really just greedy people. So, one other point that we're going to talk about a little bit is the founding of Bitcoin, which is extremely interesting, lucky, fortuitous, and is really hard to repeat. So no one knows the founder of Bitcoin, or the founders, the early developers, the inventors. Nobody knows. They're pseudonymous. Satoshi Nakamoto, no one knows who that is. We don't know if it's a he, if it's a she, if it's an American, if it's a European, if it's an Asian. We don't know. And we don't know if there was a team of them. And we also know that Satoshi left the project pretty early on, possibly died. Most likely, it's been dead for a while, and never profited. We never saw them sell any of their coins. So we have this almost a mysterious religious figure who is extremely altruistic, invented this thing for the benefit of humanity, but took no material gain for themselves. And when you compare this with every other project that has a known charismatic leader, and Bitcoiners don't want a leader. We don't want our money to have a leader. That's the whole point. And we don't want to have founders that did it to enrich themselves, who sold at the top, who rug pulled, dropped their bags on the people who they promoted to. Most of these other projects have a story like that, or most of these other projects, it's not clear that they can't change. So, I mean, I get the like for Ethereum, for instance, and I have some, but we also know that the founders were enriched, the developers were enriched, they were given supply, and we also know that they sold when the price went up. So it's not out of altruism. They taken fame from it as well. And we also know that when their friends got hacked early on, they reversed the blockchain to help their friends get their money back. There have been many, many hacks since, but since they're not insiders, those hacks didn't get reversed. And we also know that Ethereum is planning on changing to a different sort of model, the proof of stake, which again enriches the original developers and founders. So just from a technological perspective, yes, Ethereum's really interesting. From a political perspective, it kind of sucks. So, and then when you go down the list, most everything else is not interesting from a technological perspective, nor from a political perspective. And again, when you give too much value, any value to these projects, and anyone can make one, then you're allowing debasement into the system. So that's why I'm basically Bitcoin only. And yeah, it's not too early. I mean, it's not financial advice. You can certainly lose your money. Things can definitely go wrong, but It's what else are you gonna do? You know, it sucks that we have to be investors. I would love to just focus on my work and focus on my life and exercise and staying healthy and that, but we're forced to be investors because of inflation, right? If you say have $10,000 in the bank, and you lost $500 to inflation officially in the last year, and it's probably a lot more than that because we talked about the prices of everything that's gone up. Well, Bitcoin is one of those things that has gone up. It's gone up about 300% in the last year. So, yeah, moves to make. Hope you find that interesting. If you found it interesting, please comment down below. Also, for those of you who are feeling a little bit of urgency and seeking guidance and want some life strategy in your life and help with your habits and your finances, then I do one-on-one coaching. There's a link in the description down below. It says sign up for life coaching or life coaching for young men. Specifically, I'm looking for you, men who you have some things going for you, but you want to do better, you want to do more, you want to fast track, you want somebody in your corner, who could be me. And my style is a lot of strategy, helping you come up with good strategy. It's not about, you know, I was a professional gamer. I was one of the top players of Magic the Gathering. That's sort of, you know, what I bring, this analytical strategy. It's not like a feel good. Yeah, I mean, emotional awareness is part of the calculus here, but yeah, helping you, you know, look at your situation and make it better. Whether that's you're trying to do YouTube, you're trying to do online business, you're trying to get a raise, you're trying to move, you're trying to improve your habits. Very, very possible. So, if you're interested in some one-on-one coaching, then there'll be a link to it in the description. So, appreciate you, much love, and look forward to talking to you soon. And have a wonderful time. Peace.